Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I've been talking to you about using your imagination and getting into the feeling as if what you desire is already here, assuming that what you want is yours and it's here now in your imagination. That means you've seen a picture of it in your conscious mind. You've planted the seed in your subconscious. And now it's a matter of taking inspired action when the time is right, taking inspired action in spite of not seeing the whole path, but getting into the vibrational energy of thinking from the goal already attained so that your actions, the things that you think about, the things that you do, your feelings are all in alignment as if you already know what you want is yours. And Neville Goddard says, the question is often asked, what should be done between the assumption of the wish fulfilled and its realization? And he says, nothing. It's a delusion that other than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can do anything to aid the realization of your desire. You think you can do something, you want to do something, but actually you can do nothing. Well, now this sounds opposite. This sounds very confusing because you're not going to just sit still and wait for what you want to be handed to you on a silver platter. No, you do have to do something, but it's not the hard work, the pushing, the forcing that you may have done in the past, or you think you have to do certain things. You have to do things in a certain way. Neville Goddard says the illusion of the free will to do is but ignorance of the law of assumption, which upon all action is based. Everything happens automatically. All that befalls you, all that is done by you, happens. Your assumptions, conscious or unconscious, direct all thought and action to their fulfillment. To understand the law of assumption, to be convinced of its truth, means getting rid of all the illusions about free will to act. Free will actually means freedom to select any idea you desire. By assuming the idea already to be a fact, it is converted into reality. Beyond that, free will ends and everything happens in harmony with the concept assumed. I can of mine own self do nothing, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which hath sent me. Neville Goddard says in this quotation, the Father obviously refers to God. In an earlier chapter, God is defined as I am. Since creation is finished, the Father is never in a position of saying, I will be. In other words, everything exists, and the infinite I am consciousness can speak only in the present tense. Not my will, but thine be done. I will be is a confession that I am not. The Father's will is always I am. Until you realize that you are the Father, well, let's define that as I don't think that Neville Goddard is saying that you are the one God, but realize that You are a spark of God energy, and everything combined is the universe, God. You might say, you are a spark of God energy, and through your human being, you are experiencing life. Because you want more, that's not selfish or greedy. That's the spiritual side of you looking to experience, to have more, to do more, to be more, to experience expansion of the universe. So Neville says, there is only one I am, and your infinite self is that I am. Your will is always I am. In the I will be, in the law of assumption, your consciousness of being is the Father's will. The mere wish without this consciousness. Sorry, my music is going a little crazy today. In the law of assumption, your consciousness of being is the Father's will. The mere wish without this consciousness is the my will. This great quotation, so little understood, is a perfect statement of the law of assumption. It is impossible to do anything. You must be in order to do. If you had a different concept of yourself, everything would be different. You are what you are, so everything is as it is. The events which you observe are determined by the concept you have of yourself. If you change your concept of yourself, the events ahead of you in time are altered, but thus altered, they form again a deterministic sequence, starting from the moment of this changed concept. You are a being with powers of intervention, which enable you by a change of consciousness to alter the course of observed events, in fact, to change your future. He suggests that we deny the evidence of the senses, so don't focus on what's going on in the outside world, because rather than looking at interpreting the outside world through what you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, he's telling us, forget about that. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Inasmuch as your assumption is creative and forms your atmosphere, your assumption, if it be a noble one, increases your assurance and helps you to reach a higher level of being. You're still you, but you're a different version, a better version, a higher vibrational level of who you are. You are the same, but you're not the same as when you were conceived, when you were born, when you were a baby, a toddler, a teenager, an adult. That's different manifestations of you, the I am. Each one of us says, I am. He tells us, deny the evidence of your senses and assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Inasmuch as your assumption is creative and forms an atmosphere, your assumption, if it be a noble one, increases your assurance and helps you reach a higher level of being. So you have desires. You want them to be for the good of all, not just for your own benefit. If, on the other hand, your assumption be an unlovely one, it hinders you and makes your downward way swifter. Just as the lovely assumptions create a harmonious atmosphere, so the hard and bitter feelings create a hard and bitter atmosphere. Whatsoever things are pure, just, lovely, of good report, think on these things. This means to make your assumptions the highest, noblest, happiest concepts. There is no better time to start than now. The present moment is always the most opportune in which to eliminate all unlovely assumptions and to concentrate only on the good. As well as yourself, claim for others their divine inheritance. See only their good and the good in them. Stir the highest in others to confidence and self-assertion by your sincere assumption of their good, and you will be their prophet and their healer, for an inevitable fulfillment awaits all sustained assumptions. This is a deep chapter in Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness, and I'm reading from the chapter Free Will. Neville says, "You win by assumption what you can never win by force. An assumption is a certain motion of consciousness. This motion, like all motion, exercises an influence on the surrounding substance, causing it to take the shape of, echo, and reflect the assumption. A change of fortune is a new direction and outlook, merely a change in arrangement of the same mind substance, consciousness. If you would change your life, you must begin at the very source with your own basic concept of self. Outer change, becoming part of organizations, political bodies, religious bodies, is not enough. The cause goes deeper. The essential change must take place in yourself, in your own concept of self. You must assume that you are what you want to be and continue therein, for the reality of your assumption has its being in complete independence of objective fact." I'm going to say that again. You must assume that you are what you want to be and continue therein, for the reality of your assumption has its being in complete independence of objective fact and will clothe itself in flesh if you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you know that assumptions, if persisted in, harden into facts, then events which seem to the uninitiated to be mere accidents will be understood by you to be the logical and inevitable effects of your assumption. The important thing to bear in mind is that you have infinite free will in choosing your assumptions, but no power to determine conditions and events. You can create nothing, but your assumption determines what portion of creation you will experience. So again, we go back to assuming that you already have what you want, assuming that you already are the person that has your goal, rather than talking about wanting something. You must assume that it's already yours. What would it be like? What would you feel like? What would you be doing? Go out and do that. If you were to change your outer circumstances, you must change your inner thinking and feeling. You must do what you would be doing if you were acting the part. What are the I am statements that you can create to uplift, to remind yourself to be the person, that higher level of you that already has the wish fulfilled? Decide what it is that you really want and spend some time thinking into that. You're visualizing what your life is like, who you are now that you have the goal. You might take a pen and paper and write down what it is that you truly desire. Set it as a goal, a destination, a place that you're going, because there is a place. Your assumption is that that's what you want. You have a longing for it, but rather than longing and pushing and forcing and continuing to do what you've always done, you want to stop doing what you've always done and get into a quiet assumption that whatever you want is already inside of you. You have to bring it out into physical reality in order to enjoy it on the physical plane. Take a moment to write down your deep desire. As a society, we're so programmed to keep pushing and doing. As you work harder and harder in things that you don't care about or don't want, they manifest bigger in your life. So you want to, in order to move to a new dimension of productivity, the first step is to totally relax. You're reprogramming your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is totally deductive, which means it has no ability to reject. You've decided that you really want to do or be or have something, and you've written it down. And now write statements that match that. I am happy. I am healthy. I am grateful. Now you want to embody those statements. When your body is those statements, that's how your life is. I am happy. I am healthy. If you're looking to improve your health, what does that mean? What would it look like? You're not focused on disease. You're not focused on illness. You're not focused on being tired and miserable. You're focused on health. I am healthy. I am strong and fit. And then rather than your ego mind coming in and saying that you're the opposite, you become what you assume. Maybe you're not healthy or wealthy or happy at this stage of your life, but that's what you're longing for or striving for, rather than forcing and saying I am statements that are the opposite. Write down and say to yourself what you will, what you want, what you would be. What would you be if those statements were true? I am kind. I am generous. I am free to do purposeful work that I love. I enjoy my life. I am a spiritual being in this body. I am co-creating my life with God. I am happy. I am healthy. I am wealthy. Some of those statements might have really resonated with you. If they didn't, I encourage you to write down what it is that you want to be. And as you focus, as you say those statements out loud, as you write them over and over and over, you be that. You become that. You become that higher version of you that has set an intention. Now you assume the wish fulfilled. Neville says, deny the senses, the evidence of the senses. That means you're going to not look at current facts, hard reality. You're thinking about what you want. That means you want to spend a little bit of time closing your eyes and taking a deep breath in and enjoying those I am statements, allowing your body to relax into a state of well-being. You win by assumption what you can never win by force. An assumption is a certain motion of consciousness. This motion, like all motion, exercises an influence on the surrounding substance. As you become calm and relaxed and filled with a state of well-being and at ease, you create, you cause the outside world to take shape, to echo what you are thinking and feeling and doing, reflecting what you're assuming. You assume that you are healthy, you assume that you are wealthy, you assume that you are happily married, you assume that you're doing purposeful work, whatever it is that you want. As you feel it internally, as you assume it to be true, the outside circumstances reflect your assumption. A change of fortune is a new direction and outlook. It's merely a change in arrangement of the same mind substance, consciousness. If you would change your life, you must begin at the very source with your own basic concept of self. If you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your assumption becomes fact. What you believe in your imagination, what you plant in your heart, what you assume to be true, becomes the facts of your life. Persist in the assumption that you are the person to bring your wish into physical reality. Assume it to be true. Write it out and practice that. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Embody the person that you want to be, that you already are. Assume it to be true. And I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7. Thank you.